Good morning. I'm Rod Kemkes, a member of the Board of Trustees here at Cedars Unitarian Universalist Church, and I'd like to welcome you all. A couple of announcements before we get started. They're all printed in the back of your order of service, but we're going to have a special collection today for Northwest Hopeful Horizons. Also today at 4 o'clock at the Bainbridge Art Museum, there's going to be an interfaith gathering in honor of the Trans Day of Remembrance. Tomorrow night on Zoom, there's our Climate Smart Challenge where you can learn about all things related to recycling. And then there's a new group forming in December called Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And it's a group that will discuss a wide range of topics related to the LGBTQ plus community. Kenny Davis will be facilitating that group, and he will be here at our service next Sunday. And one more thing that's not in the announcements, just wanted to mention to look out for in the Beacon and future announcements is we are going to have a holiday open house on December 9th at the Cedar Center from 3 to 5 p.m. So, welcome.
What a busy and beautiful morning today. I'm so glad to see so many of you here and want to invite us to take a moment to welcome each other in this space. And I invite you to rise, to turn to your neighbors, to your friends, to the people you're sitting next to or not, and greet each other and welcome. For our opening words, I'd like to share a reflection written by my friend and colleague, Reverend Dr. Amy Zucker Morgenstead. Spirit of mystery and wonder, you are the between spaces of our lives. Where one hand reaches to touch another, you are there. Where eyes meet across the crowd and confusion and find understanding, you are there. Where the spark leaps from one mind to ignite another, that is you. Wherever we connect, you are the connection. Each of us is as a jewel woven into the web of life, shining like dew in a spider's web. Praise to you, the web that connects us one to another. When we are in the in-between, on our way from intolerable to the unknown, when we defy the categories that small minds invent and dare to imagine something beyond, when we seek others who are on a journey, on a threshold, on the margins, in any of the shimmering intersections of our lives. When we listen to the possibilities whispered within the step into mystery with trust, with fear, with trembling. May we find peace today as we come together in this sacred space. Come, let us worship together.
Unitarian Universalists can have many different alignments. I know a Christian UU, some humanist UUs, a Jewish UU or two. Personally, I style myself as an existentialist UU. Existentialism is a line of philosophical inquiry that claims such literary figures as Dostoevsky and extends forward to the philosophers in the 1960s, Albert Camus and Jean-Paul Sartre. After the 1960s, fewer people wrote about existentialism because it turns out that if you won't assume anything, then there isn't much to say. However, looking back even further, existentialism could claim Thomas Hobbes with his "The life of man is solitary, poor, nasty, brutish, and short." And even further back to Socrates, who argued with everybody but put forward no philosophy of his own. Sartre famously summarized existentialism as existence precedes essence, meaning that each person exists first and is then burdened with the questions, why am I here? And what am I going to do with my time? I existed long before I thought to ask, now what? An even better summary of existentialism might be a line from the 2001 movie A Beautiful Mind about the mathematician John Nash. The line is from Nash's wife. She says, "It's called life, John. Activities available, just add meaning." From the UU perspective, I like to summarize this as the Unitarian part, the singular question that we each must face. How must I be in the limited time that I have? And the Universalist part, the statement, no one is more damned than anyone else. The word that some philosophers use to describe those who actively search for their own mode of being is authentic. But some people, I imagine, have a more difficult path to authenticity. I, for one, a scientifically minded person in a technological society, figured out how to be once I finally stopped trying to be random other things. Of course, I'm also a straight man in a heteronormative society. The people who I think I understand best in this world are my friends Wayne and Hans. Wayne I met my freshman year in college in 1987, and Hans in 1997, my first job after college. Among the people who I don't understand best in this world are people such as my wife, Arlene. In so many ways, she is a mystery to me. I am sure, however, that I cannot comprehend what it is to be transgender. But at this point in my life, my expectations for being able to understand other people are pretty low. But it doesn't require my understanding. I believe that each person deserves the support they need on their quest for existential authenticity. Because on Transgender Day of Remembrance, the words existential authenticity can take on a different meaning. Less about philosophy and more about survival. Today, we recognize that some people don't receive the support they need on their quest in figuring out how they must be. Or, as Yves Pillet put it so beautifully a couple of weeks ago in this space, today we recognize those trans spirits who did not find enough welcome in their lives. I dedicate the lighting of our flaming chalice to the right that each person has to be what they need to be. Please join with me in repeating our affirmation as printed in your order of service. As we come together to worship, we remind ourselves to treat all people kindly because we are one family, to take good care of the earth because it is our home, and to live lives full of love and goodness, because that is how we will all become the best that we can be.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Robin. I'm your song leader today. I thought I'd tell you a little bit about each song, just briefly, before we sing. Our first song is going to be Turn Back, O Man. It's shown in your program as hymn 121. It's actually 120, if you want to find that page. This song calls upon us to contemplate our lives, to turn away from our materialistic pursuits and search instead for inner peace. It was originally written as an Episcopalian hymn about World War I. In the 1960s, though, Stephen Schwartz modified the song for the new Broadway musical Godspell. He kept the lyrics, but really revved up the tempo, and this time it was more about the Vietnam War. So please rise when you're ready, and we'll sing.
It's funny how this little jar here, it's full of poppy seeds that I harvested. It might not look like much, but this was a lot of work to get not even a half pint of poppy seeds. We'll come back to those in a second. I want to talk about something really, really powerful, and that is hope. And first, I have a question for all of you. Have you ever hoped for something? Have you ever hoped for something? And if A, you have ever hoped for something, did the thing that you hoped for happen? Did the thing you hoped for happen? See some head nods. Does anyone have an example they might be willing to share? Something you hoped for that happened? It's okay. I can share. I shared one last week. Entering into full fellowship as a minister. Something that I hoped for a long time that finally happened. Have you had moments like that, hopes like that? in your life. So, my view of hope is that I kind of see hope as being like these little poppy seeds. They don't seem like much in themselves, but given the right conditions, the right container, they become something more. Whether I'm just anthropomorphizing these seeds or not, I believe that something in these seeds hopes that they will become poppies next year. But it's not just that easy. If I were to open this jar, and I'm not because they're tiny and I would lose them all, and just throw the seeds all over this floor here in Webster Hall, what would happen? We would sweep them up at the end of the service. Where would they go? You would put them outside, but compost, recycling, there's a chance they might just end up in the garbage with the other dust. These seeds need a particular environment. They need soil, water, air and sunshine, space. They can't be too crowded together. Also, they kind of like to be a little bit close together at the same time. It's a precarious combination there. I think that these seeds are like hope. Because like these seeds, hope needs very specific conditions to grow. Hope needs people. Hope needs community. Hope needs love and a striving or a longing to have whatever it is we hope for come into the world. The poppies wouldn't grow without hope. People don't grow without hope. Hope is powerful. But without action, hope loses its power. My hope is that we can reflect on hope and through our reflection be called into action. May it be so. I invite you, however you feel most comfortable, to let yourself settle into your chairs, taking a breath, bringing your mind, your spirit, the fullness of who you are into this moment. For our centering moment this morning, I share some words I've adapted from my colleague, Reverend Sunshine Jeremiah Wolf. Sunshine is one of the founding members of Trust, the transgender Unitarian Universalist organization within our denomination. And they wrote this prayer to be offered today in remembrance of all those people who did not get to live the life as fully as they would have liked to. On this Transgender Day of Remembrance, we remember those who have been murdered for being who they are. Those who faced violence on a daily basis. Those who have lost loved ones, and those who still worry for their loved ones. We take this time to speak but a few of these names into this space that we might hold them in our love, in our care, and that their presence might be among us to shape and transform us. Eden Knight, age 23, March 12th, 2023. Committed suicide after being coerced into returning to Saudi Arabia from the US, where she had been a student studying. Eden had been separated from her support network here in the United States and isolated and pressured to detransition when she returned to Saudi Arabia. She took her life. Miles Fitzpatrick, age 17, November 7th, 2022, Mansville, New Jersey. Miles died by suicide after enduring bullying and harassment at school. After his death, his supportive family filed a lawsuit against his school, alleging that they had failed to prevent or act on the treatment he had received from other students. Michelle Dion Peacock, age 59, June 30th, 2003, Richmond, Indiana, stabbed. Michelle was a cisgender woman who had survived cancer. She was killed by her neighbor who believed that she was trans. Daniel David Aston, age 28. Kelly Loving, age 40. November 19th, 2022. Colorado Springs, Colorado. Daniel and Kelly were two transgender people who were murdered at the Club Q killings in Colorado Springs. These are but a few of the many names that could be spoken into this space today of individuals we have lost in the last year in our world. I pray that there will come a time when we cease to shame people around their gender or gender expression, where we allow for freedom and exploration of identity and expression, and pray for a world that operates from hope and love, especially when things are difficult and confusing. May all of us who live with the threat of violence, all of us who have loved ones who live with the threat of violence, all of us, because we are impacted, find strength, community, hope, and safety from the violence of the world. May this be our prayer for this time and for the days ahead. Amen.
On many Sundays, we set aside some time for the sharing of joys and sorrows. If you have a joy or a sorrow that you would like to share, please come forward, state your name, and in a few brief sentences, share your joy or sorrow. Pour a little water in the bowl here so that we may all be buoyed up by joy, or place a stone for a sorrow so that we may all share your burden. As a reminder, this part of the service is neither live streamed nor recorded. I pour a little more water in the bowl and place a final stone for all of the joys and sorrows that remain unspoken, held delicately in our hearts.
Our next song will be number 352 in your hymnal, called Find a Stillness. And we will sing all verses in this song and in the next song. Please rise as you're ready. This old Transylvanian hymn or tune invites us to make quiet time part of our spiritual practice. As William Penn said, true silence is the rest of the mind. It is to the spirit what sleep is to the body, nourishment and refreshment.
As Rod mentioned in the announcements earlier, today is a special collection for Northwest Hopeful Horizons, and I would like to invite Andy Lujan forward to explain to us what that is.
Hi, I'm Andy Lujan. Like I said, I am a trans youth, and Northwest Hopeful Horizons was founded by me and my parents to help LGBTQ youth find a safe space. We are located in Tracington, and we serve youth ages 14 to 24. We serve the LGBTQ population to help find a safe space. We offer transformational mentorship, peer support engagement, family support, and education, all with a focus on mental well-being. We are having a youth town hall this December 9th to give a voice to youth concerns within Kitsap County, and it will be recorded. That way youth have a place where they can advocate and feel comfortable.
Would the ushers come forward to collect the offering? Was that Clementi? Thank you for your gifts.
So I want to just first off say, I really appreciate the music notes today. I have learned a few things about some hymns I love, and I think that is really a cool thing. We make ourselves a place apart, behind light words that tease and flout. But oh, the agitated heart, till someone really find us out. We make ourselves a place apart, behind light words that tease and flout. But oh, the agitated heart, till someone really find us out. I've shared this stanza of this poem with you many, many times before. It's the first stanza of one of my favorite poet, Robert Frost's poem, Revelation. I come back to this poem again and again because it encapsulates a central feature of my sort of theological understanding and longing for myself. And that is this part about disclosure and sharing and how when we aren't able to do that, we find ourselves agitated. I think that this poem speaks of my own spiritual life in a way that captures a tension that I have witnessed, that it can exist between who I am inside, who I believe myself to be in here, and how I am seen in the external world. I believe this is also a feature that is part of the overall human experience. In many of my conversations, I've heard this same dynamic expressed with different details about different situations with different people. As humans, I believe that we have both an internal and an external nature to our being. And between these two experiences, there's a desire to be seen in the wholeness of who we are. When this desire is not achieved, we can experience a form of existential anxiety. I didn't know you were going to tie in existentialism, but existential anxiety, or as Frost puts it, an agitation of the heart. In the second and final stanza of this poem, Frost offers an antidote to this existential anxiety or agitation. He writes, "In the end, we speak the literal to inspire the understanding of a friend." We speak the literal to inspire the understanding of a friend. To go from that place of having something inside that's hidden, that's causing us to feel agitated, to letting it out, to sharing it, and letting that agitation subside. When I think of this theme from Frost's poem in conjunction with our observance of Trans Day of Remembrance today, a dangerous dimension of revelation becomes clear to me. I don't know about you, but in most cases in my life, the things that I'm holding internally that I need to bring out into the world don't place my life in peril. There have been some exceptions, but most of the time it's, I'm angry at you. I'm frustrated and I need to share that. You did something that hurt me and I want you to know so we can come back together. In most places, the disclosure that can relieve my agitation doesn't put my life in peril. However, we heard the names of just a few of the lives that were lost this year during our centering moment. This is not always the case for transgender people. This desire to bring who they are internally out into the world is not always safe. People are killed. People are forced to endure anxiety and agitation because being who they authentically are called to be is dangerous. In fact, in some cases, as we heard, just being suspected of being trans can put a life in danger. I think about Michelle, the 59-year-old cisgendered woman who had undergone cancer treatment, whose neighbor took her life because he suspected she was trans. Just suspecting that someone didn't conform to the binary cost a life. A few weeks ago, we had my friend and someone I love dearly, Eve Palais, come and share her experience about holding joy and sorrow together as a transgender woman. During her sermon, she described the image of a Hindu god, one of those gods with many different arms. I think some of you, we've talked about this image, and how she saw herself in that image holding both the joy and sorrow in her life, with all those many other arms tending to all the other things in the world that we have to tend to, those things beyond joy and sorrow. Eve spoke of herself being like this God, holding all of these things. And since hearing this example, since reflecting on it, I've been sitting and wrestling. In my understanding, part of the power of this image is the way it captures the complexity of life that we are all attempting to hold. All the many facets and responsibilities and pressures and love and hope and fear and courage, juggling them all together with our many hands. And yet somehow, in all of this juggling, I still believe that hope is key. Today we are commemorating Transgender Day of Remembrance. This is a day that has been marked on November 20th since 1999. I think we all know that trans and genderqueer and gender nonconforming people have existed well before 1999. But since then, we have taken the day to pause. It started with a small group in New Jersey wanting to commemorate the lives of 2 trans individuals who had been killed, and yet no one seemed to care. And from there, it grew. It grew. I think that gatherings like this, like we are doing and like will happen later today at the Art Museum, are important because it provides people a space to come together, to hold the sorrow and hardship, but also the joy, to find the hope, the small seed that is still there, even in the hard times. Beyond all of that, though, it's also a chance for allies like myself, and I know many of you, to come together and to signal to our trans siblings that we have your back. That the things that you are facing, the hardships in the world, you are not facing alone, and that we want you to let go of the anxiety, the agitation, and have the ability to bring your internal self out into the world, to be who it is you truly believe you are. There are a lot of places that are safe for many of us to go and to move and to bring the fullness of ourselves without even thinking about it. Most of my life, I was used to being a representative member of many of the groups I participated in. It wasn't until I went away to seminary that I started really finding myself in diverse spaces where not everyone was a white, cisgendered man. It's a powerful experience. And I think that that is what a day like this offers. A chance to create that space, to plant the seeds of hope and give it the right conditions to grow. I think that one of the most important things any one of us can do in this world is to examine ourselves and live authentically as who we are. I've preached about it a number of times since I've been your minister here, and it's because it's such an important feature to know yourself and then knowing your true self to enter into relationships with other people. That's how transformation happens. As Unitarian Universalists, we often proclaim that we affirm the inherent worth and dignity of every person. Part of living into that affirmation is making sure that we can create these spaces where people can truly be seen for who they are. We are a people of hope. It might seem small. It might seem that we are a small group of people even. And yet, like the little poppy seeds we considered earlier, if given the right conditions, our hope can flourish. We can help be a part of making the world a better place. This is what I hope for our community, for each other, and for all those out in the world who are looking for a place where they can be celebrated for who they truly are. May this be our prayer today. To the glory of life. I'd like to invite us to rise as you're willing, and Robin will introduce our final hymn of the service today.
Let's see, our final hymn is Welcome Table, number 407. We will sing all verses. I looked this up, and this song was first recorded in 1922. It was modified and retitled Freedom Table in the 1950s and 60s. It was an anthem for the civil rights movement. Some lines were updated to fit the current times, such as, I like this one, I'm going to sit at the Woolworth counter. And I thought, yeah. It's a rousing gospel song, I think. So hallelujah, let's sing it like a gospel song. Some hand clapping, foot tapping, you know.
Each person's story matters. Speak up. Your story matters. Please repeat after me as I extinguish our flaming chalice. We extinguish our flaming chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth.
We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth.
The warmth of community or the fire of commitment.
The warmth of community or the fire of commitment.
These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.
Again. Our service today has ended, but our service to the world and one another begins anew. As we go forth, may we leave with courage, knowing that we carry the seed of hope within us. May it be so.